Okay. So we're over here. We're on Daf masechet Amud Bet. We had a machloket yesterday. We're on 69b. We're in the middle of the page here.
9 lines from the top bottom.
9 lines from the bottom?
From the wide, after the wide.
Oh, from the wide lines going into the narrow, 9 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, exactly. So we had a machloket of when you keep Shabbat. If you don't know what day it is, you're walking, you have no idea what day it is, you lose track of time. Either you keep the next day Shabbat, and then you count 6 days, or you count 6 days, including today, and then Shabbat. So the machloket was about if you go by the way the world was created, or the way that Adam Arishon was created. The Gemara brought a raya against Chia Barav that said that he keeps the next day Shabbat first. Okay, so what you do is you first go 6 days, including today, 6 days, and then the other way. Okay, so remember that. You have to remember that. Because normally, if this ever happens to you, you won't be able to call a rabbi or look it up. Because if you will, then you'll also find out what day of the week it is. Once you call the rabbi, he's not going to start quoting the halacha here. Just say, buddy, it's Tuesday. Relax. So, or, well, unless it's Shabbos, he won't pick up the phone. But normally, so this is the halacha you have to remember, Baal Peh, mamish. This is when you don't know what's going on. So therefore, you have to remember that you count 6 days. Okay. So now, what do you do on those 6 days? How do you know they're not Shabbat? Well, what is this, like your own choice? Oh, I'll do the next 6 days, and then this last one I'll keep Shabbat. Kibriyato shel olam? But it's not Briyato shel olam now. So maybe every single day that you're doing is Shabbat. So it's a safek. So Amar Rava b'chol yom v'yom oisel l'kedei parnasosa bar me'ahu yoimo. What you do is every day you could do the minimal work so that you can live. Whatever you need to do to live. Let's say you need to take some mangoes off the tree, right? How many mangoes do you need to live? 2 per day. Okay? Then every day you can take 2 mangoes off. Otherwise you're going to starve. You have to cook something, getting weaker and weaker. So you have a little something with you, you have to cook it. If you cook it, one thing, whatever you need to live, because it's sakanat nafashot, you have to live, so therefore you can do it. But that day, no. So the Gemara says, what do you mean? That day, Bahu Yama Lamut? So that day he should die? Today is Shabbat. Today we don't even do anything to live. I did 6 of those days. Now the last one is nothing. So you just go to your death? Of course you could do in order to live. So if you could do in order to live, then it's exactly the same as all the other 6 days. So what's special about that day? So the Gemara says, Da'avid me'etemol shtei parnasot. The day before, the one that you're going to count as Shabbat, for example, you keep 6 days of weekday, meaning you do the minimal amount of work. On the 6th day that you're keeping weekday, which is like your Friday, that day you do 2 parnasot, 1 for today, 1 for tomorrow. So the Gemara says, V'dil me'etemol Shabbat hava. Okay? So maybe the day before that he kept Shabbat, on this last day, right? This his Friday was Shabbat. If his Friday was Shabbat, then how could you do 2 parnasot? How can you do 2 parnasot the day before? Maybe that was Shabbat. Right? You don't really know any of the days. That's why you only do the minimal. So why would we do 2 parnasot? The second parnasah is not for today. So how do you know you can do it? So you can say, okay, don't do 2 parnasot. So what's special about the last day? So the Gemara says, Ela kol yom v'yom osela parnasato afilu ahu yom. The answer is, you're right. Every day you could do the minimal amount of work just to survive. So then, what's Shabbat about the last day? In what way is it recognized? B'kiddusha ve'avdalta. You make kiddush, you make havdalah. Now, havdalah and kiddush, how are you making? It's a bracha levatala. Bracha levatala. Maybe it's not Shabbat. So what the Gemara is telling you is that the Chachamim were mitaken, that here you should make it. They're giving you the din to make it. It's not levatala. They're making the din that you should make it, so that you don't forget of the holiness of the seventh day. So the whole machloket between Chiya Barav and Avuna about which day you keep Shabbat was this: which day do you make a kiddush and havdalah? And I think also that it means maybe the tefillot of the day keep Shabbat. What about tefillin? It's a suffix deraita, so you have to wear them, but you shouldn't wear them at the time that you're davening prayers of Shabbat, because that's like a stira tata disasri. It's like a contradiction. But you have to wear them that day. So basically, what it means is, if you're walking in the desert, you don't know what day it is. The halacha is keep 6 days and do the minimal work, because it might be Shabbat. And on the seventh one, say kiddush and havdalah and tefillot of Shabbat. Tov, let's go weiter. Says the Gemara, Amar Rava. One little more, one more detail in this machloket. Let's say you know a little bit about the day that you left. You don't know what day you left, but you know how many days ago you left. Okay, so I know that I left 5 days ago. So oseh melacha kol hayom kulo. So what you do is you could do melacha kol hayom kulo. On that day of the week. Let's say I left 4 days ago, David. So 4 days ago, yeah, I know how to count. So if you go 4 days ago, right? 4 days ago, and I count, how do I know when I'm on that same day of the week?
7 days later.
What?
7 days later.
8 days later. Including that day. So if you say, okay, let's say right today is Erev Shabbat. We don't know what the day is today. You just know that you left 4 days ago. We're in the middle of the desert now. So now, 4 days ago, 1, that day, 2, 3, 4, today is the 4th day. So tomorrow is the 5th. I don't know what tomorrow is. The next day is the 6th, the next day is the 7th, the next day is the 8th. So on the 8th day will be the same day of the week as that day that I left. Correct? So every 8 days, and I know how to get to 8 days because I know when I left. So on 8th day of when you left, and then again the 8th day from that day, and the 8th day from that day, and the 8th day from that day, forever. If you're here for another year, you can always do Oto Hayom on that same day of the week, which is always 8 days.
Because you know it's not Shabbat.
You know it's not Shabbat.
You left.
Because you wouldn't leave on Shabbat. You don't go on a journey on Shabbat. So the Gemara says, thank you very much. Pshita, thank you. Thank you for that information. We can figure that out. It's not like, you're not saying a chidush and halacha. You're saying a little piece of math, and that's pretty simple. So the Gemara says, Ma'u d'tem kimin de Shabbat lo nafik, v'ma'le Shabbat namid lo nafik. Maybe if I know I didn't leave Friday, Shabbat, so I would say I also don't. I also know that I wouldn't leave Friday, because most people don't embark on a journey on Friday. So therefore, v'hai inami becham sheb'shabbat nafik, and even if I left on Thursday, lishtri leil meved melacha trei yomi. I would have thought, if you wouldn't have told me this halacha, I would have thought that not only could I figure out 8 days, I could also figure out the 9th day from when I left. The 8th and 9th of when I left always should be okay to do melacha. Because the 9th day The 8th day was not Shabbat. Was not, and the 9th day, right, was not the only day I would have, the first day I could have left was Thursday. Yeah. So I know Friday and Shabbat are out. So once I know Friday and Shabbat are out, every 8th and 9th day should be okay. So the Gemara says, no, that's why it's teaching you, no, Kamash Shalom, one day, only the 8th day. Because Zimna Demashach Shayarta Mikri V'Nofik. Sometimes you'll find a caravan that's going exactly where you're going. And they're ready to leave, and it happens to be Erev Shabbat. Because you have that opportunity, you'll take it. So it's not for sure that you didn't leave on Friday. Therefore, the Chidush was Oseh Malacha Kol Yom Kolo, only the 8th day. That you wouldn't have gone out on Shabbat. But otherwise, you have to be careful. Okay. Hayodea Ikar Shabbat. The Mishnah mentioned that if a person knows about Shabbat, but he forgot what day of the week it is today. He thought it was Sunday. Yeah, David, he thought it was Sunday. So what does he do? And he did many melachot today. He only brings one chatat per Shabbat. Let's say he did that for 4 weeks straight. Every single Shabbat he thought it was Sunday. He did many things. He brings one chatat per Shabbat. Minohani mili. Now, how do you know this? So, what did the first, and what did meaning to say? This is the second clause in the Mishnah. What did the first clause say in the Mishnah? That if you don't know about Shabbat at all, okay, then you bring one chatat for everything, for one mistake. But if you don't know about the day of the week, and that's why you made the mistake, so then you bring one per Shabbat. So how do you know that you can differentiate and now add more chataot? Say, oh, every Shabbat is its own. Why are they different, those two cases? Whether he didn't know about Shabbat, or he didn't know that today is Shabbat. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba Baravua, today Kroik Tivi. Because there are two psukim. And Rashi brought them down at the beginning of this parak, we spoke about them. And here's the Gemara. V'shamiru v'nei Yisrael ta Shabbat. What a great day to learn Shabbat, no? We're going right into Shabbat. Now you have a new meaning when you say these words tonight. You understand the drashot. The Bnei Yisrael should guard Shabbat. That's Lashon Yachid, the one Shabbat. Uchtiv et Shabtotai tishmoru. You shall keep my Shabbatot, plural. So it sounds like that Hashem wants you to keep now one Shabbat, but all the Shabbatot. So what is it? Haketzad. So make up your mind. You want me to keep one Shabbat or many Shabbatot? So the answer is like this. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et Shabbat shmira achat l'Shabbatot habei. You have to do one Shmirah for many Shabbatot. V'shamru, all the Shabbatot are one Shmirah for all the Shabbatot together. They're all bunched as one. Which means it's possible to bring one Chatat for all of them. It has to be a case like that. And we're saying, which case is it? It's the case where you don't know about Shabbat at all. But then there's individual Shmirot, Shabtotai. This Shabbat, that Shabbat. There's different types of watchings, which means each one is separated and each one will have its own Chatat. That's clause number 2. When you know about Shabbat, but you forgot the day. That's the way that Rav Nachman, in the name of Rabbi Ravua, reconciled these two psukim, the different languages, and from there we derive that there are two different types of chiyuvim of chataot. Very nice. Matkif Rav Nachman by Yitzchak. Rav Nachman by Yitzchak attacked him. He didn't like the way that he expounded the psukim. He also is going to come out with the same result from the two psukim, but he was using each pasuk the opposite way. He says, Adarab, just the opposite. Ipcha mistabra. The opposite is more reasonable to say. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael ta Shabbat, shmina achat l'chol Shabbat v'Shabbat. which means every Shabbat Shmirah is separate. This Shabbat is his own thing. So that's the pasuk that's speaking about differentiating between every Shabbat and bringing chatat per Shabbat. That's I could do tishmoru, one Shmirah, on many. That's when you forget Ikar Shabbat, and that's when you bring only one chatat. Okay? Okay, so now, Hayodeh Shu Shabbat. So now we're going to differentiate between the second clause of the Mishnah and the third. The second one said, if you remember, Batai, that you bring one chatat per Shabbat. Because every Saturday, every Shabbat, he wakes up thinking it's Sunday. Okay? So he brings one per Shabbat. The third clause said that if you... The third one said that if you forget the melachot on a Shabbat, then you bring per melacha. Okay? Now, why? Why if you forgot the melachot, do you bring per melacha? The melachot are separate, right? So if the melachot are separate, so who cares that, let's say in the first case that I forgot that today's Shabbat. So how many things did I do wrong? I did separate melachot. But you don't bring for each melacha. You only bring one. What if I forgot the malachot and I knew today was Shabbat, then you bring many. Gemara wants to understand exactly why. Ma'ishna Reshu, Ma'ishna Stefa. What's the difference? So Omer Rav Stafra, Kan midiyat Shabbat u'poresh, v'kan midiyat melacha u'poresh. The way Rashi learns is like this. What actually obligates a person to bring this carbon? Not just sinning inadvertently. That you know that when you sin on Shabbat, guy flips the light on, you know that at that moment he's not chayav yet. Know that? Not chayav, chatat. Why? He did it by mistake. Because he doesn't know about it yet. The Torah says that he has to know. The yediyah, he has to have ohodah lav chatato, shechata. He has to be notified. At the minute that he's notified, he says, you know that you're not let. Oh, I wasn't light bulb. At that moment, when he realizes his mistake, then he's chayav and chatat. Okay? What exactly is he going to... Why is he going to stop doing what he's doing? Let's say he's driving a car really slowly. He's talking to you. You let him know something. Which thing is going to cause that knee-jerk reaction, that stopping? Whoa! What's going to make him abstain from violating more Shabbat? So the Gemara says, Rav Safra says, Midiyat Shabbat u'poresh. Okay? When he forgot that today was Shabbat, what's going to make him stop doing what he's doing? The idea of the idea that today's Shabbat. Midiyat Shabbat, you tell him, Rabbi, what are you doing on the golf course? It's like, Happy Sunday. You think, it's Shabbat. So that makes him drop everything. So therefore, the shkaga is on that. Okay? He's chayav kaban. So it's the shkaga of Shabbat. But, v'kam yidiyat melacha u'poresh. But here, if you tell him it's Shabbat in the second case, it's not going to help him. He knows it's Shabbat. But you have to tell him that the melacha that he's doing is asur. Okay? So therefore it's notifying him that this action is a malacha. It's a malacha of Shabbat. Oh, okay. That's a malacha. And that's a malacha. So therefore, the idea is on the malacha, and therefore the name of the shkaga, the name of the mistake goes after the idea. So since the idea here is one thing, the Shabbat mistake, so it's one Shabbat mistake. Here the idiot is melachot, many idiot of many different melachot. So therefore the name of the shkaga is melachot, and that's why you bring many chataot. Omar le Rav Nachman, kulum parish mishabat ele mishum melachot, uklum parish melachot ele mishum Shabbat. He says, when you tell a guy, today is Shabbat, he forgot, he thought it was Sunday. So he stops doing all the things he's doing. He only stops Because today is Shabbat. So what's about Shabbat? What would it be Shabbat? What's so bad about Shabbat? So, because he's saying, oh, today is Shabbat. So the malachot. You can't do malachot. That's what's great about Shabbat. Shabbat without malachot is nothing. So when you tell him today is Shabbat, he says, oh, it's Shabbat and malachot are asurot. So that's really what you're notifying him. And the opposite is true as well. You tell the guy, oh, today, oh, by the way, you know that's a malacha. What you're doing right now, you're cooking, you know that's a malacha. It's one of the 39 malachot. Oh, so he just stops? So you tell the guy, you know that this is a malacha. Okay, it's a malacha. That's not enough to make him stop. It's a malacha together with the awareness that he already maybe had, but it's the malacha of that today is Shabbat. It's a malacha and today is Shabbat that I'm doing a malacha on. That makes him stop. So it's never the awareness that you make him aware of one of the two things never suffices. It's not enough for him to stop. I tell you, that's a malacha. You're not going to stop. It's a malacha. Oh, I know today's Shabbat. Together with the fact. I tell you today's Shabbat. You're not going to stop unless you also know that what you're doing is a malacha. So it's always the two pieces of information. So why are you saying, oh, here the information that would make him stop is this, and here the information that will make him stop is this? No, it's always both. It's always both. Right? So the Gemara says, Elo Omer Ab Nachman, Korban Dechayev Rechmona Amai Ashkoga. Hasam Choda Shkoga Hacha Tuv Shkoga. So Rav Nachman is going much simpler. He's saying that don't talk about the yidiyah, even though that is a factor that you need. That without the yidiyah you don't bring a chatat. But the reason that the name of the shkaga goes after the actual mistake. Here the mistake is one, there the mistake is many. Okay? Which means the root of the mistake is what causes the chatat to come. Maybe you need a hoda'ah at the end. It's a conditional thing. You can't bring it. But what causes the actual cause is the actual shkaga. So here it's one shkaga, here it's many. Fine, which is the way we understood, we explained it at the beginning of the parak, right? Okay, now it says that chayav hakol melacha u'melacha. So let's go to that case. So if a person, David, remembered that today is Shabbat, he says Shabbat Shalom to everybody, but he forgot that the melachot are asur. He forgot that cooking is the problem, he forgot that this is the problem, and he does all of them. So he has to bring many different chataot. Chayav hakol melacha u'melacha. Chiluk melachot min halam. Amar Shmuel lo makro mechalei amot yumat Torah ribta mitot habe al chilul echad. If you have to take care of things, take care. No, that's good. Okay. So it's like this. How do you know that every malacha is its own thing? We know that if you eat chelev, a piece of forbidden fat, and you drink blood, those are two separate names. Two separate avirot. So if you do those two, right? Let's say the guy has a meal. You ready? His meal? David, a cup of blood with some forbidden fat. Delicious. Okay? He forgets that they're asur. How many chataot does he bring? 2. Okay? Why? Why 2? He did them one, like mixed up state. The answer is because in that mixed up state you forgot 2 separate avirot. Each Avirah has nothing to do with each other. Avirah number 1, Chelev. Avirah that has a different name, totally. It's under a different category. 2, Dam, blood. So therefore you bring 2 chatot. But melachot, how do you know that melachot? What about if he eats 2 pieces of Chelev? Chelev, then Chelev. He brings 1, if it's in one forgetting, if he had no notification in between the 2. So he brings 1 chatat, because it's under the same name. So how do you know that melachot of Shabbat I understand there's 39 different actions, but how do you know they're all under separate names? Maybe they're all under one banner called Chilul Shabbat. Yeah, there's 39 different ways that you could be Mechalel Shabbat, but it's like, imagine the 39 different pieces of fat. And there are. I mean, I don't know if there's 39, but there's Gemarot and Chulin, that there's all sorts of different fats. The fats that cover the kidneys, the fats that cover the diaphragm. So, but they're all chaylev. So here too, there's bishul and chayrish and ktsira, but they're all chilul Shabbat. How do you know that every melacha that you did is a separate name, and therefore you have to bring a chatat for each one? Good. This is, right? So the Gemara says, Omar Shmuel, Omar Kro, it says, Mechalel mot yumat. If you desecrate Shabbat, mot, he dies, yumat, he dies. Double. Why are you writing two lashonot? So therefore the Torah is saying many, many deaths for one chil. For each melacha, there's another death. Now, the Gemara says, Hai b'mezid k'tiv. That's not talking about chatat, that's talking about the guy's going to die. And although it's true that if he does many melachot on purpose, and he's warned, he's not going to die many times, because you could only kill a person one time, obviously, but it's the way people speak. So the Torah, obviously, you're not proving that when you do things by mistake, they're separate. This is the reason why the Torah says, mot yumat, because mot yumat means the way people speak. The way people speak is mot yumat. The Torah says it in a strong way. But it doesn't show you anything about shogeg, because it's talking about mezid there. The Gemara says, Im eino inyan lemezid dichtiv kol oseh bo melacha yumat tneu in l'shogeg. So the Gemara says, if you can't use it for mezid, because it already says kol oseh bo melacha yumat, so this pasuk is kind of extra. It already says if you transgress Shabbat yumat. So why does it say mechalel mot yumat? Tneu inyan l'shogeg. Okay, now then you use it for shogeg. Now, what type of rule is that? That's one of the there's 13 rules, Rabbi Shmuel. So there's another brayta called the 32 rules of Rabbi Eliezer ben Noisha Rabbi Yossi Aglili. At the end of masechet brachot, you find them, and one of the rules is that if there's a pasuk that can't be used for its own topic, the Chacham have the right to understand, to extrapolate from there and move it over to somewhere else. So even though it's talking about mezid, we're using it for the melachot in the shogeg. To tell you, mot yumat. Now, mot yumat, you don't die for the shogeg, but each one separated in the mot yumat. So we'll use it for the chataot. Every melacha is its own. Is its own. Okay? Okay. So the Gemara says, okay, this is where Shmuel gets it from. Ask the Gemara, why can't Shmuel derive the source that what? The source that every melacha is its own chatat from Rabbi Natan. What's Rabbi Natan? The Tanya Rabbi Natan Omer, Lo tvaresh b'chol mashvotecha b'yom Shabbat. You shall not kindle a fire in all of your dwellings on the day of Shabbat. Ma tamud lomar. Why does it have to say that? The Torah already said lo taseh kol melacha. By the way, all 39 melachot mentioned in the Torah, Yaakov, you're not allowed to cook, you're not allowed to plant. Does it say it straight out of the Torah, all 39? No, it doesn't. It just says, don't do melacha, lo taseh melacha. So how do you know? How do you know what the 39 are? So the Chacham had a Kabbalah because it was placed next to the Mishkan, right? That anything that was melacha in the Mishkan was, okay? So all it says is lo taseh melacha. And I know all 39 melachot. That's where you know them from. It doesn't say in the Torah ever, lo tivashel b'yom HaShabbat. Lo tachrosh b'yom HaShabbat. Well, we'll see, tachrosh might have a pasuk. But normal, right? Melacha. Lo tivror. Don't do borer b'yom HaShabbat. Lo tadush b'yom Shabbat. So where does it say it? So the answer is, like I told you. So why does it say? But there is one that says, Lo teva'aru esh b'chol mashuvtechem b'yom Shabbat. Why does it single it out? This is a very, very famous nachloket. Rabbi Natan ben Yossi, very famous. So the Gemara says, "Lefi shenemar v'yakam Moshe et kol hadas b'nei Yisrael." Eile advarim. Moshe gathered everybody, and he said, "Eile advarim." Asher tedaber b'nei Yisrael sheishet yamim te'aseh melacha. These are the words. These are the things that I want you to tell Klal Yisrael. What are they? Shabbat. Sheishet yamim te'aseh melacha v'yom hashvi'i tishvat. You right? So he dashed like this. Devarim is how many? 2. Ha devarim. Devarim. Ha devarim is another one. So it's 2 plus the ha is 3. Eile ha devarim. What is the gematria? Says the Gemara. The gematria of Eile is Aleph Lamed Hey is 36 plus ha 37. Devarim 38, 39. 39 malachot. Eile ha devarim. These are the words. Sheish of Shabbat is 39. So Elu shloshim v'tesha melachot shenemar l'Moshe b'Sinai. So, okay, what do you have to do with Lo Tevaru? Actually, you didn't answer the question yet, so you have to wait. So we know Yachol Astan Kulam Behelam Echad Eno Chayiv El Achat. You would think that if you would do all 39 in one forgetting, okay, one forgetting, I forgot this is Asur, right? Then I bring one chatat, because it's all melachot of Shabbat. It's one chilul Shabbat. Talmud lomar becharishu v'katzir tishbot. The Torah says, 6 days you shall work, on the 7th you shall rest, and you shall cease to do plowing and harvest. Okay? To teach you that what? That every single malacha is its own category. Why were they singled out? Becharish uvekatzir tishbot. They're singled out to be spoken of. To teach you that each one is its own name. Charish is one. Katzir is everyone. So it teaches you that each one gets its own. So then why do you need lo tevaru ish? So why do you need lo tevaru ish? That's the third one. V'adayin ani omer, and I still say, al charish v'al katzir chayev shtayim. Okay, fine. If you do charisha and katzira in one forgetting, you'll be chayev shtayim. But ve'al kulan eno chayev elachat. But on the other 37, you only bring one. Talmud omar lo tevaru ish. Havara bechlal. Havara was included already in the lo ta'aseh melacha. Kol melacha. Hayta. V'lami yatzat. So why was it singled out? Lahakish eleh. To connect all the other ones to it and to say v'lo melacha. Ma havara shi av melacha v'chayiv en aleh b'fnei atzma. Just like havara is an av melacha and has its own name. Av kol shu av melacha chayiv en aleh b'fnei atzma. So to anything similar to it, will also have its own shame, like chelev, dam, its own thing. Every malach has its own category, and therefore you chayav on each one. So this is the end of the kasha, because the Gemara is really asking about this whole bright of Rabbi Natan. Why did Shmuel need to learn that from Mechaleh Mot Yumat? If he already has Lo Tevaru Esh B'chol Mashvatechem, from this bright he could have learned it out. So the Gemara answers, Shmuel Stava L'K Rabbi Yossi D'Omer Havar L'Lav Yotzot. Shmuel holds that the reason why Lo Tevaru Esh was not L'Chalek Yatzat, that's the name of this previous, that it's there to differentiate between each malacha, but rather it was Yatzat, came out of the regular normal group, L'Lav, to say that all it is a lav. Titanya Havara L'Lav Yatzat, Divrei Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Natan Omer L'Chalek Yatzat, which means that according to Rabbi Yossi says that if you warn a person for any malacha on Shabbat, and he does it, b'meizid he's chayav skila. But if you warn a person for havarat esh, turning a fire, it's only makot. It's lelav yatzat, to make it into a regular lav. Okay? And therefore Shmuel went like Rabbi Yossi. Since Shmuel went to Rabbi Yossi that lo tivaru esh is there to teach you that it's a weaker type of, it's not as strict, stringent as the other ones, and you only get makot. So he wasn't learning from lo tivaru esh that to teach you that each one is separate. So therefore he needed another source, and therefore he learned it from Mechal Le'amot Yumat. But asked the Gemara, you could still learn chiluk menachot from another source of where Rabbi Yossi got it from. Where did he get it from? The Tanya Rabbi Yossi Omer. Ve'asa me'achat mehena. In the Torah's pasuk of speaking about a person who is chayav to bring a chatat, it says, Nefesh ki techata bishkaga mikol mitzvot Hashem. A soul who sinned by mistake, bishkaga, from all the mitzvot Hashem, asher lo te'asena, which he should not do, ve'asa, and he did, ready? Me'achat mehena. From one, from them. So, pe'amim, says Rabbi Yossi, okay? Now, seemingly, the me'achat mehena is extra. Because he said, ve'asa achat hena. Me'achat mehena. Okay? The truth is, the whole word mehena is extra. And the mem of achat is extra. It could have really said, ve'asa achat. But it said, ve'asa me'achat, and then added the whole word mehena, from these. From this group, from them. From them. Just say, a person inadvertently sinned and he did something he shouldn't have done, and something that he shouldn't have done, ve'asa achat. But it said me'achat mehena. So therefore he learns from these extra letters and words. Pe'amim shechayivin al chat al kulan, pe'amim shechayivin al kol achat v'achat. Sometimes you'll be chayav one al kulan, and all the avirot that you did, you'll be chayav one. Upe'amim shechayivin al kol achat v'achat. And sometimes the Torah wrote heina to tell you that these avirot are called many. These, to teach you that you're chayav on each one. Now, he doesn't really explain himself, Rabbi Yossi. So Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Chanina comes to explain how that's possible. Omar Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Chanina, my time of the Rabbi Yossi. Okay? How in the world does he derive it exactly from the extra mem and the extra word mehena? And it says, because achat me'achat, heina mehena. Right? Achat, it says me'achat. And heina, it goes ahead and writes mehena. So the drasha is like this. Achat shehi heina, heina shehi achat. Meaning, the word achat and heina teach you, if it would have just said without the mems, that sometimes the achat is heina, okay, and sometimes the heina is achat. So that means that sometimes you could do one, and it'll be considered many. On one you could get many, and many you could get one. Okay? You could do many milachot, which is one. And you know how. We already know how. How? If you forget it depends on what you forget. Okay? That one mistake can be considered many. And on one Shabbat, you could bring many. Achat, that could be heina. How? On one Shabbat, all I did is break one Shabbat. Yeah, you can bring many, because you go after the malachot. But sometimes, you could do many, and only be one. Okay, because what's my mistake? I did many malachot, but my mistake was on the day. I did many malachot, I did heina, but it was only achat. Okay, so that's how we know so far. And then there's more. Then there's the mems. Then there's achat, without the mem would be Shimon. The person wants to write Shimon, and he writes Shimon. Okay, that's one. Me'achat, you can even be chayav chatat if you do from one, a little part of one. What's that? Me'achat is shem mishimon. What happened was, he wanted to write Shimon. He was about to write Shimon. So he goes, Shin Mem. He stops. So now he wanted to write much more. But he only did Me'achat, from one. He did a little part of one, and he's still chayav. Since he wrote a whole name, and 2 letters, and it's a name, okay, it's 2 letters, so therefore he's already chayav. Heina avot. Meheina toldot. Okay? Heina is them, the avot. Meheina is that there's other halachot that also cannot be done. There's all the toldot. Okay. But now Rabbi Yossi B'Chanina explains, which I already did kind of, how you can have achat that is heina and heina that is achat. In the simple words, without the mems. So he says, achat shi heina, what's that? Zidon Shabbat v'shigigat melachot. That he knew that it was Shabbat, but he didn't know, he made a mistake in the malachot. So therefore he's achat, it's one chilul Shabbat, but it's many, because he's shigit the melachot. Heina shiachat is he could do many melachot, but he'll only bring one. Shigat Shabbat is do melachot. He forgot that it was Shabbat. So you see from here, from this drasha achas heina, that you could bring many chataot for melachot. So why didn't Shmuel derive it from here? Shmuel achas sheheina v'heina sheachas le'mashmalei. He didn't like the drasha because he liked it only to teach you. He didn't like achas heina heina achas. The whole thing is the mems. The me'achat he went for, but not more. You can't derive more than that. Okay. So the Gemara asks a shayla like this: Bo minei Rava merav Nachman. I want to get the shayla, at least the shayla. Let me get to the back. Let's go. Let's move. Bo minei Rava merav Nachman. Helem zeh v'zeh biyodoi. Mahu. He forgot both things. He forgot that today's Shabbat, and he also thought that all the malachot are okay. Mahu. Okay? And remember we had a brighter that said before, like the quintessential shogeg is shogeg bazeh bazeh. Remember we had that yesterday? He makes a mistake in everything. He forgets today's Shabbat, and he forgets that about that each malacha is asur. The guy, he's actually, what's an example? He's giving a class of what, he's giving a class of what you're not allowed to do on Shabbat, and what you're allowed to do on Shabbat. He says, you see this? Here, look, cooking. This is, if today would be, today's Sunday, but we're doing, so that's why. But cooking, this would be a permissible act on Shabbat. Next one, he keeps showing you different things. Turning on the light, that would be also okay. Driving in the car, okay. So now he forgot both things, that today is Shabbat, he thinks it's Sunday, and he forgot the malachot. So that's like the quintessential mistake. Okay, it's a quintessential mistake, but which one do I follow? Do I make him bring many chataot, because he forgot the melachot, or do I say no? One, because he forgot that today's Shabbat. That's the shayla that they're asking. You hear that shayla? The problem is a little problem with this question. Because in the Mishnah itself, what was the case? The case was, the first case, he forgot, he didn't know the concept of Shabbat. So what did the Mishnah say? If you remember the words of the Mishnah. Klal Gadol b'Shabbat, kol hashokech ika Shabbat, ve'asa milachot habe. Next case, hayodeh ika Shabbat, ve'asa milachot habe b'Shabbat habe. Chayav kol Shabbat v'Shabbat. So there you can't prove anything for the second clause, because it says you chayav for every Shabbat, but you don't know how much. But in the first clause it says, you forgot today's Shabbat. No, sorry. The first clause is, you forgot about the concept of Shabbat for many years. You did many melachot over the many years. You bring one chatat. So you see that when you forget both things, obviously a guy who doesn't know about the concept of Shabbat also is making a mistake in the melachot of Shabbat. He doesn't know those either. So those are both. And it says you go after the Shabbat issue. So Rashi says that's the difference. That case, you don't know the concept of Shabbat. That's one mistake. But over here, because by the fact that you don't know about the concept of Shabbat, automatically you're forgetting the melachot also. But here, Rashi says, what happened? The question of Rava is specifically when you know about some melachot that are asur. Like for example, like my example, I was giving the guy was giving the shira about Shabbat. So he shows everybody you're allowed to drive, you're allowed to turn the light on, you're allowed to cook, and then he says, by the way, this wouldn't be allowed. Sorry. He said this would not be allowed. Okay? I'll call you in a minute. I'm not finished the share. So he knows about some melachot. So if he knows about some melachot, besides the fact that he knows that, he also forgot today is Shabbat. So the reason why he forgot about the melachot is not coming from the fact that he forgot that today is Shabbat. It's two separate things. Because he knows about some things. Okay? He's not like he's just not doing everything because he thinks it's today's Sunday. He knows about some things. He's going through Hilchot Shabbat. Each thing is a separate mistake. And that's why you're not sure which one you go by. Tosfot doesn't like this pshat in Rashi, but that's the way Rashi learns. Omar Leir Rav Nachman answered him, Harehelam Shabbat v'yado ve'eno chayav elachat. He says, Shmirat Shabbat is really, the malachot only come from the being Shmirat Shabbat. The fact that today is Shabbat causes them. So the main mistake that you're making is that you think today's Sunday, it's not Shabbat. That's the main mistake. You go, it's one. So the Gemara says, just the opposite. Why not? You could say the opposite. Okay? It doesn't make sense. The way the Ritva learns is that, if he would have known today's Shabbat, and he would just be forgetting all these melachot, you would get him on each one, a ticket for each one. Chatat. But now that he makes another mistake, so you say, that mistake is the main one. You think it's Sunday, so we only want to look at that one. Now he's going to gain? How can he gain? If each one is its own thing. That's the Gemara is asking in the Adarabah. Elo Omer Avashi Chazinon Imishum Shabbat Kaporish Harehelam Shabbat Biyado. Ve'eno chayav elachat. Imishum Lacha Kaporish Harehelam Elachot Biyado Chayav Kol Achat Ve'achat. Which means, if you would tell him, buddy, today is Shabbat, okay? And that is why he stopped. He would stop. Then it's Helam Shabbat. But if he would stop because of the melachot, because you told him, hey, those melachot you can't do, then what would be the sentence they have to tell him to make him stop? Today is Shabbat or these melachot? Which one would really get him to do it? If it would be this one, the main one, then you go by Shabbat. If it would be melachot, you give many. So Amalei Ravina Rav Ashi. So Ravina asked Rav Ashi, what do you mean? Klum parish mi Shabbat el mishum melachot? Klum parish mi melachot el mishum Shabbat? If you tell the guy, today's Shabbat, he's going to stop? So what if today's Shabbat? He only stopping on Shabbat because of melachot. If you tell him, those are melachot, he's going to stop? He only stops doing melachot because today is holy. Everything's intertwined. You can't have one without the other. We had a similar kasha before, right? So what do you mean to say? Ela loshna. He says it doesn't really matter what he would stop from. So Ravina wants to say they're always considered one. You only chayav one. Because Rav Nachman already said before that you only have one. That's the Svara. The Gemara asked on it. Okay? Rav Ashi only asked on it because of this new way of going. But since Ravina is not going with that way, we're going back to Rav Nachman, and we say that the main thing is this, the main mistake is the Shmirat Shabbat. You have to first know about the day. The day brings about the malachot. That's what the Gemara is going. Even though the Gemara asked the kasha and Adarab. Fine. Tanan. Learn to the Mishnah. Avot melachot abayim chaser achat. 39. V'avina ba minyan olam li. V'omer Rabbi Yochanan shimasan kulum be'elam echad chayav al kol achat v'achat. Rabbi Yochanan taught us. So why does it have to say a number in the Mishnah? To teach us that if you do all of them in one forgetting, you have to bring 39. If you say that when you forget both the day and the melachot, you have to bring for each one, that's great. Okay? So then you could say that's what the Mishnah is talking about, that if you did all of them, helem echad. El'i amris helem Shabbat biado. But if you're going to tell me that really it's considered helem Shabbat biado, and therefore he's only chayav one, how is it possible to find a case that you'll forget all 39 melachot and you'll still bring 39 chataot? The answer is bizdon Shabbat v'shigat melachot. That you know today's Shabbat, but you forgot about the 39 melachot. So the Gemara asks, "Hanicha isava leKrabbi Yochanan da Omer kivan shegagag bekares afapisheiz belav mishkachatla diadale Shabbat belav." According to Rabbi Yochanan, that said that the mistake. Remember yesterday's. The mistake could be in you know about the lav, you know about the avera, you know that you're doing is wrong, but you don't know that's karet. So there could be he does the 39 things, and he knows they're all prohibited. Today is Shabbat, and I can't do this. But I'm doing them anyways. But he doesn't know how severe it is that it's karet. So then he could bring 39 chataot, because that was his mistake. But if you say like a Shimon Lakish, that shogeg means, and we pass like, well, we don't pass like a shogeg, but that's what we're used to. That it means you can't know that what you're doing is wrong. Like, you don't know that this malacha is asur. So 1 second. So he doesn't know this is asur. So what's the case of the Mishnah? You do all 39, and you bring 39 chatot. So he doesn't know that 39 malachot are asur. You say, okay, charisha you can do it? Yeah, you can do it, no problem. He does it. So, each one. So you tell him, what day is today? Shabbat. What does he know about Shabbat? He doesn't have any holiness to the day. Because you went through all 39 malachot and he did all of them. So therefore, Elamai, you're going to say. So therefore, what is it considered if he doesn't if he did all 39 melachot because he didn't know they were asur? That Shabbat itself, the concept of Shabbat, even if he knows the day, but it's not considered. He knows the days, so it's Saturday. It's Shabbat, fine, Shabbat. It's like those guys that are driving. You know, the Israelis, very sad in Florida. They roll down the window, Shabbat Shalom. You cry. What Shabbat Shalom? You don't know what Shabbat is. It's not Shabbat. So that guy, you could say no, because he says, "Ani lo se televizia." But this guy, he's doing all 39. So in what way is Shabbat to him? So you know what it's considered? That he doesn't know the concept of Shabbat. Even if he knows the word, but he doesn't know the concept. He doesn't know about any holiness, of refraining of anything. So therefore, automatically, this guy is like the guy that's Helem, what was forgotten from him? Both concepts. And what does it say in the Mishnah? That you bring all 39. So the Gemara is asking, how could you say that when you forget both, you go after the main thing that you forgot about Shabbat? So the Gemara says, "Diyad Allah betchumin, v'ali b'Rabbi Akiva." Diyad Allah betchumin, v'ali b'Rabbi Akiva. He knows about tchumin according to Rabbi Akiva, it's doraita, but he doesn't know about the 39 malachot that are derived. Chazak Baruch, Shabbat Shalom Vorach, and Chazak v'Nitchazek, special Shabbat. Everybody should be zoche to be Nitchazek, Chazak.
10 o'clock tomorrow night.
Zat Hashem, 10 o'clock tomorrow night. Check your door.